That StreamYard needs a better slow transition, I swear. Welcome to book club, everyone. Happy Monday to you. I hope you're doing well. We're going to be talking Enola Holmes, the case of the missing Marquess, and we hope that you will enjoy the conversation. I have some friends with me here today. I'm going to bring them in. We've got Mr. Bookworm Bear, Tim Pruitt, and Teddy.
And Teddy.
Hey, Teddy.
You gonna say hi?
He's just chilling on Dad's shoulder.
Yeah.
He's so cute. And Teddy's got an Instagram, correct?
Yes, he does.
And I love it. He gets into all sorts of mischief, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, him and his sister.
Yep. Who's equally as adorable. So
I think she's probably mad she doesn't have her own page, so
maybe someday.
Yeah, maybe someday.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here, Tim. And next we've got the awesome Gina, classy Disney mom. Welcome in. Good to see you.
You too.
Happy Monday to you guys. Are you ready to discuss? We're missing a couple of our fellow bookmates. Yadi has dropped off the book club radar because she got a job. So congrats to her. Definitely much more important than hanging out with us nerds and discussing books. But I know she's gonna miss us and she will be missed. And Tracy Glenn is in the Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, we Disney don't have to talk about him.
So we're just gonna pretend that he had to work late and
let's say that.
Make it. So just so we're not so miserable thinking of where he is right
now.
Yeah. So I'm excited. These two chapters are really liked. We thought we were getting into the thick of things the last two chapters, but now these chapters really ramped up, and so I'm really excited. I'm gonna get to chat real quick. We've got Miss Tina McNeil in the house who says, "Yep, Teddy Pockets is Teddy's Instagram page." So if you were watching the replay or if you're watching live, first of all, thank you so much for watching. Appreciate you guys. Go check out Teddy Pockets on Instagram so you can see cute kitty photos of Tim's adorable cat. And we've also got Miss Cynthia, Candy Mom 15. Welcome in, Cynthia. It's good to see you. And we've got Tony, Phantasmic Chronicles, getting ready to drive home. Thank you so much, Tony, for peeping in. And hopefully you'll make it back in when you get home. And hope you had a good day. So, is that the ticket of getting rid of him? I just don't answer. He left. I got invaded and I was one track minded and I stuck with it, and then he left and it was like magic. I love my kids, don't get me wrong, but
but
they can get a little distracting. So anyways, it's fun seeing the different things between the book and the movie. You know, I stopped watching the movie like halfway through, and I'm glad I did because I want to be able to watch it at the end of the book and then compare. So, but what I did see, I enjoyed, but there were a lot of differences. There were similarities, but there are also a lot of differences. And notice something we're gonna discuss in these two chapters. We're gonna discuss something, a big difference, in my opinion. I guess not a huge difference. I guess now reading the book, I can understand why they left certain parts out, but we'll get into that. So let's start with chapter 9, and where we left off at the end of chapter 8. Enola Holmes had discovered there was a mystery happening. The kid of Tewkesbury or something like that was kidnapped, and there was police everywhere, and Scotland Yard was looking for him, and they were combing, the train station and the streets and whatever. And so she debates, do I go onward to London or do I stay and investigate this crime? And she decides to stay. And so we're gonna get into it now and see where it leads her. And I'm going to welcome in Kim Stolworthy. Welcome in, Kim. Good to see you. Chapter 9 starts off at a tea shop beside Belvedere Station, where she sat in a corner table facing the wall in order to lift her veil. So two reasons she's going to lift her veil: to eat her breakfast and drink her tea, and to look at the young Viscount Tewkesbury Basil Weathers' photographic likeness. So she's examining this photo. She's looking at his appearance, and she's noticed, I mean, she's criticizing him up and down, kind of like her brothers criticized her when they first came to the house and saw her appearance, which I thought was really interesting. Oops. I pressed a button. There we go.
Uh-oh.
So I gotta get out of this table of contents. There we go. Okay. So she looks at him, and he's clearly, I'm gonna read this. Occupying nearly half the front page of the newspaper, a formal studio portrait showed the boy dressed in Heavens Have Mercy. I hoped he wasn't made to wear velvet and frills every day. But how else might he go about with his fair hair, rendered artistic by the curling tongs hanging to his shoulders? So he's got this blonde, curly-haired boy with hair to his shoulders, and he's all dressed in frills and velvet, and she's cringing at this appearance, which cracked me up. And then she also compares it, to I don't know where it is down the line, but I remember reading she compares it to how her brother sized her up as well, except she didn't look as nice and frilly as this kid did. She looked like probably what he should have looked like. So she reads the paper. Duke's heir of tender years horrifically missing. The second line that said, she reached for a second scone and then read, a scene of the most alarming implications unfolded early Wednesday morning at Basil Hall. So it's now going to describe what the crime scene looks like, made to look like somebody had broken in. The French doors of the Bulliard had been broken into. The household staff had been alerted. Next discovered the lock of the room's interior door had been forced. Knife stabbing marks everywhere, or knife, trying to
a vicious knife too, not just a knife, but a vicious knife.
Vicious knife. Naturally fearfully of burglary, the butler checked the silverware pantry and discovered nothing missing. So then they go and investigate more, and they discovered that the Viscount's door had been wedged open slightly. And so pieces put together, kid's gone, house broken into, he's been kidnapped. So she reads on, and it says, the Viscount, Lord Basil Weathers' heir, and indeed his only son, a mere 12 years of age. And she stops reading, and she says, 12. And the waitress comes over, the hostess comes over and says, what is that, madam? And she says, nothing. And she's like, he looked much younger, the long, long locks, Goldilocks, and, the frills and the velvet. Not what a typical, I guess, 12-year-old boy, maybe, 6, 7, 8-year-old boy would wear. And so, and here's where she says, her thoughts that she realized all too similar to those of my brother Sherlock upon meeting me.
Yeah.
So, the hostess says, poor lost Lord Tewkesbury, you mean? His mother has kept him a baby. One here, she's wild with grief, an unfortunate lady. Yeah, she kept him a baby, all right. Holy cow. So she gets up, she leaves a halfpenny, she's heading out of the cafe, whatever it's called, and she has a thought. She thinks she knows where this kid might be. Not sure how, upon only looking at a picture, reading a story, and talking to the people around town. But she's got that insight a lot like Sherlock has.
Her brother.
And so we're going to find out what she's thinking, where her brother is. Do you guys have any thoughts before we continue on? Anything you want to say or add?
So one of the things immediately when I read this chapter was, did anyone watch Mr. Belvedere?
That's what I thought
too. 1980 something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, so this is like a place. And I just remember being like, 6 or 7, or no, maybe like 9, and just and then I remember that show, I mean, I know it has nothing to do with the book, but like he was an English butler, and so when I saw this, I immediately thought, oh wow, okay, so it's a place. And then also, I'm from Southern New Hampshire, and when I saw Tewksbury, Tewksbury is in Mass, and it's probably about 40 minutes away from me, and so it's just, I mean, other than the fact that, yes, I definitely feel like she is taking after her brother, and I did not expect this, like, being side rail the way that it was, like,
Right.
that she was going to get involved in this. But other than that, I just thought definitely when people settled here, they did name the places after their homes in England. So, yeah, it was interesting.
Hi, Jeff.
One of the welcome in, Jeff. Good to see you. And I know I should welcome in some more people. Movie Mania, Nick. Welcome in, Nick. One of the things that growing up as a kid, my grandmother and my aunt, my great aunt, would take me into Boston, and so we would travel in. I lived just a city north of Boston. Mm-hmm. My grandmother's backyard, I could see the Boston skyline clear as day. And so I would hop on a bus and get in the train and hop into Boston. And the one place we would always go was Devonshire Street.
Oh,
and I was like, and then when I heard Devonshire being talked about in the Jane Austen books that I read as an adult, I was like, or as a teenager, it would bring back those memories. And it's amazing how rich, English rich New England is, because it is New England, but you don't really realize it until you read things like that, which I absolutely love. It just makes it, more real, I guess. And let me scroll down, and I'm going to welcome in Eric Lee. Hey, Eric Lee, good to see you. And Emily, LSU mom, welcome in. Good to see you as well. Thank you for popping in. So, all right. Anything else?
Yeah, just one thing. Well, two things. Since you brought that one up, isn't it funny that so many people so many immigrants came over from England and Europe to escape that part of the world because they were oppressed or for religious reasons or whatever. But they came over here and they named everything after where they came from. I always thought that was funny. Now, the other thing I thought was interesting was they went through this article, or when she's reading this article, and they don't even think about the kid until later, and they take him, hot water to wash his face this morning. I mean, they've checked the silverware and the pots and the pans and they're more concerned about that than they were him at first anyway.
Yeah.
I just thought that was kind of backwards.
Yeah, I agree. All right. So continuing on. All right. Sorry. My book was asking me a question and I had to read it. All right. So she gets up and she gets to the first gates of what Basil
Dad built.
And hey, Chris, welcome in. So she's the first gate stood open, but at second gates, a lodge keeper stopped me, his duty being to keep the idle curious. And he says, "What's your name, ma'am?" And whoops, there goes her incognito. She says, "Enola Holmes." And she's like, instantly regrets it. And she said, she had even chosen a really good name for herself, Ivy Meshel. Ivy, which means fidelity, for her mother, and Meshel because she took Holmes, cut it in half, HOL, and then MES, and flipped it, turned it around, and she thought, I thought that was really clever too, but she blew a cover because she knows, here we go, word's gonna get out. Mike 88, welcome in, good to see you.
So because Sherlock was supposed to be there originally.
Right.
They invited him to come, but he couldn't make it.
Right. But he doesn't know who she is until he says, "What's your business, Mrs. Holmes?" And she's a Mrs. because she's dressed in that widow attire, so they know she's widowed.
Or
so they're gonna call her Mrs. Having been a fool, she says, I decided I might as well make the most of it. I said, as Mr. Sherlock Holmes could not himself attend to this matter, he asked me to come and have a look about. So then he catches on, oh, you're related to the detective, and so he lets her through, and she's walking on, and she says her interest doesn't lie within the noble residence. She wants to go out to the gardens and into the wood area because that's what she would do. And she's thinking she's only, what, a couple of years older than this kid, acting much like a boy herself, and thinking he's been dressed in all of this garb, he's going to want to escape, and this is going to be his escape, is going out into the wilderness. And so that's the first place she thinks to check. So she heads out into the grounds and into the back of the woods. But she gets stopped by the mistress of the house, and she says,
Well, does
"Mrs.
she ever?
Holmes," and she throws herself at Enola and is like weeping and crying and pleading with her, I guess to help. I don't know, whatever. But then a pair of frightened looking maids came hurrying behind her. And what was her name? Her name was. Does it say what her name was yet? It was the distraught mother. It says.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the maids are trying to get her to come back in the house. It looks like it might rain. So she says, "Mrs. Holmes, you are a woman with a woman's heart. Tell me who could have done this evil thing. Where could my Tukey be?" And I literally cringed when I read that. I was like, oh gosh, she calls him Tukey, this poor kid. What am I to do? And, she says, have courage. And she's struggling because, she's a 14-year-old girl, and she's like, this girl's throwing herself all over her, weeping and whatnot. John, welcome in. Surf Bomb. Good to see you. She says, have courage, your grace, and I fumbled for words. Be of good hope. So she manages this, and then up behind her comes a voice. Up behind Enola. And this voice is sheerest nonsense, proclaimed a resonant alto voice behind me. This insignificant widow knows nothing. I will find the lost child, your grace. Okay. And so the Duchess recognizes her as Madame.
Somebody.
Madame Lelia. I can't even say this name. Madame Spiritualist Medium is what she surmises. Finder of the lost, and she says her whole name, Madame Lelia Sybil de Papavier, Astral Perditorian, at your service. That is a mouthful and a half. Whatever is lost, I can surely find, for the spirits go everywhere, know all and see all, and they are my friends. And Enola is, I think I could picture her like rolling her eyes at this point, secretly turning her head and just rolling her eyes. But she's saying she doesn't buy this. She doesn't go by, spirits and whatnot and all that other stuff. But she comes to this realization that, it was a single word that rendered her motionless and speechless. So something that she said in her title, Madame, busybody, we'll call her.
The spiritualist.
It's her spiritualist, piqued Enola's interest, and it was the word Predatorian. And it's from the Latin perditus, meaning lost. And so Enola's having these thoughts, and she's like, knower of the lost, wise woman of the lost, finder of the lost. That was my calling. She's like, that's what I'm doing right now. She's trying to find her mom, right? Okay. So she has this big revelation. This is what she's going to do. She says, I was a Predatorian, and I hope I'm saying that right. And if I'm not, someone correct me. Or I would be, not astral, professional. Or not astral, professional. The words first, professional, logical, scientific, Predatorian. There you go. So I love how she's discovering these little bits about herself as we go along in the series. So any thoughts before we continue on?
I almost felt like, well, maybe I should wait to say it until after, because it might give away what what it's going to say later on. But I felt to some degree she might have identified with some of this, and maybe that's why she took an interest. But I'll say it later on too.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe. This is on track, but not.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody besides me find themselves looking up some of this stuff? I mean,
Yes.
I had to look that word up. I had to figure out what that was. I had to.
Mhm.
There was also another word I missed. I meant to mention this a minute ago. It was in the paper, the newspaper article, where they talked about them taking their. Let me
Looking at
find it here.
Jamie.
They called it the Ducal, Ducal,
Hmm.
and I thought they were making fun. They were making fun of something, but I looked that up, and that actually means it has to do with dukes. I mean, I guess that's really a word, and it wasn't made. I thought they were making fun of them at first, but then I figured out that wasn't entirely the truth.
Yeah.
During this time period, from the late 1800s to early 1900s, mediums, uh, spiritual, and there's a difference between a spiritualist and a medium. I think one supposedly talks to the dead in the afterlife, and the other one can tell things that are about to happen. I can't remember which is which at the moment, but they were pretty popular. If you look back in history, a lot of famous people use spiritualists and mediums to help them find loved ones or lost, husband, wife, types of things. A lot of rich people, I guess, or people in upper society. You can read back some of their history, and they've done this. They've hired them. Uh, uh, the magician, I can't think of his name. Um, Famous escape
Fairy.
artist. Who?
Oh, Houdini.
Yeah, Houdini he liked to go out and prove they were wrong. He would figure out how they were doing the things they were doing,
Yeah.
making the table shake or the bells ring and that sort of stuff, because those were all things they did.
Yeah.
And but that was pretty common. I mean, you can read. I've read about like wives of presidents at that time period would have them come in and do things. I think Abraham Lincoln's a little bit earlier, but I think, of course, he was supposedly about half nuts. But when their son died while he was in president, she called in mediums, I think, to try to talk to her lost son. I mean, this just happened. It wasn't that uncommon. So I'm not too surprised this lady showed up, and I assume they must have sent for her, or maybe she saw the article and so she showed up on her own. And this lady was glad she was here, but um, these people regularly showed up to fleece the Gentile, so to speak. I
Yeah.
mean, that's usually what it amounted to. Well, maybe they did, maybe they didn't, but they were pretty common. It was pretty common to bring people like that in.
Hmm.
But I
Mm-hmm.
love looking up the words. Like I said, ducal sounded like a made up word and making fun of them, and it wasn't actually. It was a real thing. So
Nice. Good to know. Because I didn't know that. BDF Keith, welcome in. Good to see you. Glad you guys are all here. I appreciate you. All right, so we'll continue on. Um, so let's see. I scarcely noticed how the maids escorted the Duchess and Madame Lilia into the hall, perhaps for tea, perhaps for a séance. I did not care. She goes back into the woods. She's exploring, and she's realizing something. Um, and I lost it, where my thoughts were running wild with excitement building upon my original scheme to find Mom. The plan remained simple. Upon arriving in London, she's going to hail a cab, tell the driver to take her to a respectable hotel. She's going to have dinner, have a good night's sleep. She's excited for, I would be excited too. This sounds like a really nice getaway. But she's well, is this gonna continue? We'll see what happens. Um, she's planning on sending out articles in her mother's favorite journal or paper in code to try to find her mother and see if her mother responds. Um, so, um, but now I had thought that I had found my or so. In any event, waiting. I'm all messed up. Let me stop my thoughts. Okay. Okay. Because I'm realizing this is the part that got hazy for me. Because she's thinking about her brother's Let my brother Sherlock be the world's only private consulting detective. All he liked. I would be the world's only private consulting purgatorian.
Mhm.
Um, as such, I could associate with professional women who met in their own tea rooms in London. And so she's thinking and she's dreaming. And then she realizes I got to stop dreaming about it and start doing it right now. Um, Backtracking through the boring, well tended woodlands of Basilweather Park, I concentrated now on looking for a particular tree. So she knows what to look for because she's built something like this back at her own home. Jesse
Mhm.
Gottlieb, welcome in. Good to see you. And Francisco, welcome in. Um, I apologize that Tracy is not here to do his traditional contractual Francisco, but he will be back in a few
Let me
weeks.
say Francisco. That's fun to say, Francisco. That's
That
not
was
exactly
perfect.
how he would do it, but
It was good. I enjoyed that. That it works. It works. You're hired. Um, be here next week too. It's not a paying gig,
okay.
but you get accolades, so it works. Okay, so there's a little bit of rain. It had stopped. The sun had come out, and she had nearly circled the entire estate before she actually found it. It was not one tree actually, but four growing from a single base. So now we're gonna get imaginative because she's gonna get really descriptive, and I'm curious to see where all of our minds kind of took this. Four maple seedlings had planted themselves in the same place, and all had survived to form a symmetrical cluster whose four trunks rose at a steep angle from one another, with the perfect square of space in between them. So we've got four tree trunks and they've kind of all grown like this. Is that what I'm thinking?
Well, more like they're starting out together and then they kind of spread out but go up close.
Okay.
I've done this before. When I was a kid, this was a kind of thing I would have done to
Yep.
to find a place you could make a tree, well, build a tree house. I don't know if you said that part, but I mean that's what I would be thinking. It would be a place to do something like that.
Right. And we're gonna find out just how well hidden of a tree house or whatever we're gonna find comes out to be with these four trees. Um, So she looks inside and she finds this railroad. What does she call it? Spike. And she's like, "What's this for? For hanging something on it?" And she's like, "No, a much smaller nail would have served that purpose." She goes, "I know what this spike was for. To set one's foot upon and to climb." So she knows. We're climbing now. Here we go. So a glorious day, and I love this part. She's been acting like a proper woman for the last whatever day and a half it's been, and she
Well, that
says,
and she's been hooked by this
"Yeah,
seamstress and everything too. So they've been
yeah,
making her be a proper young lady.
yeah, exactly." And she's a glorious day to climb a tree once again after so many weeks of ladylike confinement. Loved that. Love that line. Um, So she's worried about her appearance now. A widowed lady in a tree. So she's looking all around. She sees no one. She hikes up her dress and her petticoats and tacks them in with hat pins so that they stay up and stay in place. And she sets her foot upon the spike and seizing a branch, up she went. Twig snagged her hair. She's getting all disheveled and messed up, but she keeps on going. And after she climbed about 20 feet or so, she stops to see where she was going. She tilted her head back. Good heavens, he had built a platform in the tree. A structure not at all visible from the ground when the trees were in leaf, but from the perch she could admire. I could admire it clearly enough, a square framework made of scraps from unpainted lumber set between the four maples. Supporting beams ran from trunk to trunk, wedged into place on tree limbs, or else secured with cord lashed around the corners. Planks lay across the beams to form a crude sort of floor. She says she imagined him scavenging that wood from cellars or stable lofts for goodness knew where, dragging it here. Maybe creeping out at night to lift it to the tree with a rope and set it in place. So what's the visual that I got immediately? She's thinking that this kid did this all maybe in the middle of the night when nobody was awake and watching. What
Kind of
was
like
she
she did.
doing? Kind of like she did when she was
Yeah.
plotting to find her mom and discovering the clues and and planning stuff.
Taking her
So
bicycle to the and hiding it somewhere else.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed that. I know Kim says, I'm so glad I wasn't around then. I know I can't. I love those old fashioned dresses, but it's nice that we can just hop out of them whenever we want. It's nice if you want to like put on a costume or we want to wear, like, I have about 6 or 7 50 style dresses and a couple of petticoats to go underneath them, but I can only take them for so long. So I like the fact that the next day I can jump into my t-shirt and my jeans or my shorts and, be a tomboy, because I'm a little bit of both. So yeah. All right. So carrying on. All and I love this. At all and all the time, his mother applying curling tongs to his hair and clothing him in satin and velvet lace. Heaven have mercy, she says. So she gets the corner of the platform. He had left an opening by which to enter. So she pops her head in through, and her respect for young Lord Tewkesbury increased greatly. So we're going to find out why. He suspended a square of canvas, perhaps a wagon cover, as a roof over the hideaway. In the corners, he had placed saddle blankets, presumably borrowed from the stable. And she's admiring the general splendor of what this kid has done, to set everything up and make it homey, and to also plot and plan what he's going to do, because as we'll find out, she crawls in to look, but at once her attention was arrested by a shocking sight in the middle of the plank floor. So we got this big old floor, and she's noticing there's a scene here. What is this scene? Scraps, fragments, rag bits cut and torn so dreadfully that it took me a moment to recognize what they were. Black velvet, white lace, baby blue satin, remains of what once had been clothing. He trashes wardrobe, also kind of like sort of what she did, but not exactly, because she, but opposite, I guess I'd say. And atop the heap of the ruins, hair. He shaved off his long Goldilocks. She's like, it must have been shaved to a stubble after ripping his finery to shreds. So Viscount Tewkesbury had entered his refuge of his own free will. No kidnapper would have or could have brought him here. And by the looks of things, Viscount Tewkesbury had left this hideaway as he had come, of his own free will. But no longer to be a Viscount of Tewkesbury, Marquess of Bayswater. So here we go. We've come to the end of the chapter. And she pieces the puzzle together. This kid ran away. Why did he run away? He's a Viscount. What could possibly go wrong besides the fact that his mother babies him and dresses him up and keeps his hair long?
He wants to do something else.
We're gonna find out why. All right, thoughts.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, the fact that he didn't just change his clothes, he destroyed his clothes. I mean, it's kind of like he's saying that life is over for me.
Yeah.
I'm finished with the. I mean, I can only imagine that he got made fun of by the other kids, that didn't have to. We didn't talk about. He's probably private school or at home, but I'm sure he had to deal with people, when he went out or went to market or something. And since I doubt she left him at home very often by himself, since she was, babying him so much, but I'm sure he caught a lot of grief over his clothing and his locks. And I love that. I mean, he didn't just take them off. He got rid of them. Made sure he'd never have to wear those again.
Do I hear Kitty meowing?
Oh.
Yeah, that's it. Did you hear him? I didn't hear him.
That was cute.
I love it. It's just the sweetest meow.
He's pitiful. He makes it sound so pitiful.
He's like, let me up.
Come here.
He is adorable. There he is.
Oh,
good boy. I swear, I feel like people come here for Teddy, not the book.
I accuse people that on Saturday mornings all the time too. So, what do you think?
Cute.
I love it.
He would read, but he can't. He's got sharp hands. He can't turn the pages.
Ripping to shreds the claws. Okay. All right. So, more thoughts before we go to chapter 10? Anything?
I kind of felt like maybe she understood because her brothers were trying to constrain her to be a certain way. and her personality and everything was not. And she basically did what he did. She went away. And so I feel like, when she discovered that this is what he had done, it was almost like, well, of course. I mean, it's understandable that this is what he did, and as much as it's sad that his mom and stuff, obviously, they were looking for him, but I just felt like that was what I think she identified with a little bit, like, who wouldn't in this, situation? But
Yeah.
obviously, I don't know if we're going to know anything more about it in the other chapters, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she'd lived almost the opposite life with her mother compared to what Miss Young Tewksbury has lived with his mother.
Well,
Her mother raised her to be, I won't say a
independent.
tomboy, but she certainly didn't raise her to confine herself to the constraints that they expected young women to live at that time. She was doing things. She was out in the woods. They were out looking for bugs. They were getting flowers. They were painting. All that kind of stuff. So it was almost the opposite of what Mr. Tewksbury here had.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she
Mhm.
wasn't babied. She was taught to be independent, taught to fight for herself, um, to figure things out on her own, to basically take care of herself. And you got this kid who was babied, and I really enjoyed that contrast. And I'm really excited to see where the story goes from here. So,
Mhm.
chapter 10, we're into the thick of it. It'll come up. Thank you. All right. So she says, on the ground again, with my skirts down where they belonged, my black hat pinned in place to cover my unkempt head, and veil pulled down to conceal my face, I walked blindly. I did not know what to do. Um, so she took one of the locks of his hair and she's twisting it around her finger, and she's thinking the rest I had left where I'd found it. She left everything else. She's like, I imagine the wild birds taking it away strand by strand to line their nests. That would be a pretty soft nest instead of twigs. Just thinking. Um, so she exits, and she's met by, actually, she's confronted. Um, let's see. Not at all instantly I thought of myself, I Enola on the run, just like young Lord Tewksbury, except that hoped it was to be hoped that he'd had a sense to change his name. Fool that I'd been, coming here as Enola Holmes, I'd put myself in jeopardy and just needed to get away. Still, I must reassure the unfortunate Duchess. No, I should leave Basilweather Park as quickly as possible. So she's, should I stay or should I go circumstance? Do I
Mhm.
tell her that he hasn't been kidnapped, he ran away? Or do I just flee and get the heck out of here? Because they're going to come looking for me any moment now that I've released my real name. And she hears a voice, and it says Mrs. Holmes, and she's stiffening. She found herself on the carriage drive directly in front of Basilweather Hall. And again, Mrs. Holmes. She hides the lock of hair in the palm of her hand, and she meets someone. Um, turns out to be Inspector Lestrade. Although the person that was reading the book, the audiobook, I listened to the audiobook and I read along, called him Lestrade. And so I
Hmm.
think that was
Hmm.
interesting. Um, not that it matters, but it's just, I think, pronunciation. But anyway, so he's greeting her, and um he's curious, why didn't Sherlock ever tell me that he had a sister? And she says, well, has he ever have you ever told him about your family? And he was like, well, no. And then she knows she's kind of busted, because he could easily send a telegram lickety split to say your sister's here and she's doing your work for you, and then he's gonna come running and discover her, and it's not going to be good. So um she says, she has to distract him. So she opens her gloved hand, uncoils a lock of hair, and holds it out to him. Regarding Lord Tewksbury, he has taken matters into his own hands. He's not been kidnapped. He has run away. If you would too, oh, you would too if you were dressed like a doll in a velvet suit, she says.
Hmm.
He wants to go to sea on a boat, a ship, I mean. In the young Viscount's hideaway, I had seen pictures of steamships, clipper ships, and sorts of seafaring vessels. In particular, he admires the huge monstrosity, the one that looks like a floating cattle through the sails on top and paddle wheels on the sides. What's its name? The one that laid the transatlantic cable? And Lestrade just kind of like dumbfounded with the lock of hair in his hand, and he's like, "What? Where? How did you deduce?" And she says, "Oh, the Great Eastern." And she remembers at last what the ship was. You'll find Tewkesbury at a seaport, probably docks of London, and all likelihood applying for berth as seaman or cabin boy, as he has been practicing tying sailors' knots. I mean, how do you think of these things or deduce these things by looking at this scene? Absolutely amazing. Jonathan Chong, welcome in, buddy. So Lestrade's going, but the broken door, the forced lock, and she's like, he did that so you would search for a kidnapper rather than a kid or runaway. And so she walks off and she leaves, and he tries to get her back, and she keeps on going. She became aware of the third party conversation. To the conversation at the top of the marble stairway, looming amid Lestrade's Gratian's caller, Madame Lalila was watching. Okay, so before she walks away, forgot Madame Busybody was at the top of the stairs listening in. She tells him, the first floor, so to speak, of a maple tree with 4 trunks, and she points in the direction and whatever, and she keeps on walking, and she goes. She gets to the train station. She buys a ticket. She gets on the train. She's sitting in the compartment, and she feels the train going backwards towards London. Since let's see, she says, I felt as she's thinking about first before I go on, thoughts. Segue for thoughts.
Well, she didn't really want to fool with this guy.
Yeah.
And I'm like her. I think the spiritualist lady was probably just eavesdropping.
Yeah.
Looking for answers so she could claim that she no doubt will claim that she can tell him where the kid was at or something.
Right.
She sees it in her mind. She's going to take all the credit for it. And I think she knew at this point she just needed to flee because sooner or later it's going to catch up.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming they're communicating by telegraph, or I don't know if I don't know if they had phones then in 1888 there or not. They were laying transatlantic cable, but I think that was still telegraph. So, and the Great Eastern was a real ship. That is the ship that laid the cable.
Yeah.
That was a big deal at the time. But, she's figuring that as soon as this guy gets somewhere, either back to London or on the Morse gets a signal sent or a message sent back to London, he's going to tell Sherlock. So, she's kind of backed herself into a little bit of a corner there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a different one.
I was gonna say that's not the same cry. That's a
No.
different meow.
This is my old boy. He's telling somebody else to get off the grass, probably.
All right. So continuing on, there's 3 other people with her in this compartment, and she's sitting there reflecting on how she's been identified. She knows what's going to happen, and she has to change her plans because she can't do what she wants to do now because she knows that they're going to find out that she's headed towards London, because they're going to track her down by the widow clothes. So, she says, well, if I leave London as soon as I arrived, but train to where? If Sherlock Holmes found the widow had gotten on the train to say Houndstone, Rockingham, Puddlesworth, he would investigate. So she's kind of stuck. She eventually comes to the conclusion they would expect me to continue on. I might as well stay, try to find some different clothing so I'm not dressed as the widow that I am now, and try to dodge them through London.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's also realizing that she doesn't want to get in a cab because he's most certainly going to inquire of the cab drivers, and it's getting dark, so she's going to have to walk by herself somewhere in London. So she's thinking of scheming up what the heck she's going to do. She glances over and she sees something in the window. There, like a full moon rising, a large face peered into the compartment. Listen, this is one of my greatest fears, is looking out the window and seeing a face staring back at me. Scares the heck out of me. Legit. So when I read this, I got goosebumps and my hair stood on end. And I was like, oh, this is so awful. This poor girl. Yeah. Gulping, she looks around at her fellow passengers. The face is gone. And she's like, okay, what the heck was that? And so she describes the three other people in the compartment with her. A workman in cap sprawled, snoring, his rough square toe boots thrust into the middle of the floor. Opposite him, a fellow in shepherd's plaid trousers and a Homburg hat studied a newspaper, which, judging by etchings of jockeys and horses, concerned itself with racetrack. Next to him, opposite me, a squat old woman. Oh, here we go. Here we go. We've got incoming. What's he going to teach us with today?
Trouble has arrived.
Did I miss the book club?
Yeah,
did you miss the book club?
I think I missed everything.
I think you did.
You've also been replaced as Francisco's announcer, so.
I just wanted to pop in and say hi.
Thank you. Where's my castle?
Huh? Where's your castle?
Yeah.
Well, he's standing over near.
Is that Small World?
Across from Small World.
Yeah.
Fantasy World. Are you at Magic Kingdom all day?
He's in fantasy. He's walking towards the carousel.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, thanks for popping in and giving us a teaser.
Well, no. If you want to see the castle.
Oh, he's going to show us the castle.
There's my castle.
Aww.
Not jealous at all. Not at all. Hey, Garrett, welcome in. Hands in the chat, who's jealous?
Mm-hmm.
We were just in line for Peter Pan. We just got done with here's the castle. It's the back side of the castle.
The back side.
Still,
well, that's better than no side.
That's exactly.
So yeah, we did Haunted Mansion. Caught that really good. Good.
Nice.
Probably a 10-minute walk in.
Wow.
Most of the
Good.
stuff we got done today has been almost a pretty good catch. Nice walk on. I don't think and I got to get going because they're making a turn.
Uh-oh.
Run, Tracy, run.
I'm running.
I can hear Kenzie now. Dad, get back over here.
All right.
Oh, she's got on her Loki shirt.
I love it.
That video.
That was probably super shaky.
I can't wait to hear Matt's first day reaction here.
What was
I
that?
know.
I said I can't wait to see or hear Matt's first day reactions.
Yeah, Matt's first day reaction. You can take me off solo now.
Oh, sorry. Hi.
They were just watching you helplessly run.
All right. I just want to say thank you for the invite anyway. I'm sorry I missed all the booking.
It's all right.
All the book review.
Hello.
Hello, Kenzie.
Have fun.
Matt's here.
Bye. Hey, Matt.
Hey, Matt.
Let's go. All right.
Have fun.
I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Anyway.
I almost booted myself out of the studio. Oh my gosh. I almost left the studio button. All right. So we're gonna wrap this bad boy up. Guys, Kenzie is going live at 4:30 today, as you can clearly see from the box. So make sure that you tune into Kenzie's stream at 4:30. Don't want to miss it. Tracy streamed earlier today and was excellent. And Kenzie's gonna have her go at it. Share her stream out. She is 100 away from being at 1,000, and I really praying and hoping this week we can get her up past 1,000 this week. I think it would be a really nice treat for her. So all right. So that being said, Dean, welcome in. Hey, Dean, the turkey legs. So welcome in. And if I missed anybody, just say hi again, and I will make sure that I catch you. Sorry. So she's describing who's in this track. So there's this woman, and she fixes her with a cherry gaze, and she starts talking to her really oddly. Something the matter, Ducky? And she's like, Ducky? That was a peculiar mode of address. And she says, who was that? Who was that man? And she says, what man? What man, ducks? She says, and that was totally not a British accent. I'm going to stop now. So the lady starts talking to her. You're looking a bit white under all that black, she says, and depicts that she's a widow. Then really starts to like kind of, starts to pick apart her, her story, or try to place her story. And so she looks sick, you lost your husband, and now you came to London looking for a man, and you're with this child, I bet, right? And she's just like, as a 14-year-old girl, I'm sure she's like, the look of shock and horror on her face must have been priceless. No worries, Trace. So she keeps talking to her, and she says, if you're going to be looking for money, you want money, take your petticoats and go to the certain place to sell them. Take them to Culhane's Used Clothing on St. Tuckins Lane off Kipple Street. And so she's, she thanks the lady because she did offer her some advice. And then she starts thinking, okay, she's got to change her appearance. She's got to do this. Do I steal them off someone's clothing line? What do I do? And then it hits her, oh, used clothing shops. She can get dresses right away where she doesn't have to get fitted for them. St. Tuckins Lane off Kipple Street in the East End. I did not think my brothers were likely to inquire there, nor did I think, as I should have, that I would risk my life venturing there. Thus ends the chapter. So we kind of know where this is going. So this is going to be interesting. So yeah, thoughts.
Go ahead, Gina.
I don't know. I guess I just feel like she definitely is very, I guess, mature. I know that in those days, girls her age were a little bit maybe more mature than what we would think of today. But she has a definite spark to her that just she's definitely someone who's got a little bit of insight and can think very very quickly, and at this point having to figure it out as she's going along, and drawing an idea just from an experience that she had, because that was a very strange experience from this woman, and yet she drew a possible, like, oh, okay, this is, instead of, I don't know, maybe I'd be like, I just want to get out of this train right now. I just really want to get, and I don't know if I'd be thinking, oh, wow, I could do this. So definitely an interesting, definitely. Yeah.
She's a character, I realize, but as that, she's thinking way ahead of probably what a lot of 14-year-old girls even at that time might have thought. She thinks about a cab and realizes that no, Sherlock will find out. He'll ask about that, or they'll check this schedule to see if I've gotten on a train, or if anybody's seen me, that kind of stuff. And so she's, in one way, she may be overthinking it, but probably not. I mean, she knows Sherlock, and all of Sherlock's mysteries, he was always thinking like that too. If you've read or watched or seen or whatever, he was always several steps ahead of everybody. So she's a lot like that, and I think I'm thinking that although they might never admit it, or Sherlock might never admit it, but he probably got a lot of that from his mother, because she's pretty much got all this, her knowledge, and I'm thinking her intuition from her mom.
Yeah.
More so maybe than her father, who's he's dead, right? Yeah, he is, because she went to his grave. They didn't talk about him a whole lot, but and Mycroft is entirely different from these two, or from Sherlock and Enola. So her mind's working constantly. And I can't imagine being in a train car for the first time in her life or my life and being sort of uh, interrogated by this woman who she doesn't know, and obviously is from a, I don't want to say a seedy part of town, but a different lifestyle entirely that she's used to.
Right.
It had to be a little bit scary.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like Tina, so you look up and there's a face pressed to the glass, and that's always a little spooky.
That's a whole lot of nope for me. Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
It's
yeah.
gonna get interesting.
It is. It is. Gina, any other last thoughts before we close out?
I don't think so. Just I'm definitely looking forward to where this is going to lead. So, and I think it said there's like 11 more pages left or something. I don't know. Maybe I
Yes.
might be.
I think there's only 2 more chapters left. So we did 9 and 10 today.
Yeah.
I
I
just
mean, not
looked. There's 15
uh,
chapters, I
one more
think.
Wait, we did 9 and 10, and then we'll do 11 and 12,
Mm-hmm.
and then 13, 14, and try to squeeze in 15.
I think so. I think that's what's left, and they may not be very long.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's interesting. It's a lot that has to still be figured out in a small amount of time. Well,
Yeah.
pages. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and I won't tell you what I thought. I almost wondered if it wouldn't carry over into the next book. And I don't know anything about these books this lady's written.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I don't see her being very, I mean, anything can happen, but I don't
Right.
see her very close to finding her mother yet.
Right.
But maybe she will. I mean, it's taken this different twist with the Tewksbury kid. And, well, she's kind of gone away from that, but it's got to come back. I mean, he's part of the story now. And then, I don't know. It just seems like she's not very close to finding her mom. So,
Yeah.
I guess we'll see how they wrap that up in the next couple chapters.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll find out. All right, thank you guys so much for joining. Tim, what you got coming up on your channel?
I'll have a show Saturday morning, maybe an hour show this week if the Lynn Project and Triple P are going to be on with Coffee and Contemplation. I will be giving away a T-shirt. In fact, I found the T-shirt. Had it laying behind me the whole time. If you were in Saturday show, you know what I'm talking about. But I thought I had this shirt. I did post it online, but this is a kid's shirt. Maybe a smaller lady could wear it. My daughter, I'm not even sure she could wear it. But anyway, it's a Star Wars shirt. As far as I know, it's brand new.
Nice.
I think it might have belonged to my former son-in-law. And this one, I'm going to give away from my channel. Teddy's going to give that one away. And I'm going to give this one away, which is I drink Death Wish coffee, and it's got some interesting graphics on the back. So I'm going to draw names out of a hat. Anybody that wants to get drawn for a shirt, again, you have to the one's an adult shirt, the other one's a child shirt, youth shirt. So if you want in on that, go to my Instagram pages and like it, and I'm writing down a list of names to draw out of a hat. So
sweet.
That's how I'm going to do it. We'll do that Saturday morning.
Never mind. Tim's already on. Jonathan's already on it.
Thank you, Jonathan.
And Jonathan, if you could post, or someone could post also the link to Tim's Instagram, that would be great. And Teddy's Instagram.
And Teddy's, yeah.
Teddy's is Teddy Pockets, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys, go check out Tim Pruitt. I love the discussions that you have, Tim, and I love obviously when you're solo, but also when Chris is on. I think you guys have really good conversation.
Yeah, I think it's gone pretty well so far.
Absolutely.
We get some questions and we can answer some things. And this past weekend I was solo, but we talked about when I can't remember, we had pretty good conversation. Then things that I could answer that were more nature related than aircraft. But yeah, everybody's welcome. Come on in.
Awesome. And Narrow Valley with Glenn, welcoming to see you. Just wrapping it up here. And Gina, anything from you yet? Or are we still waiting?
Yeah, my daughter had a virtual graduation ceremony last week, And so we were kind of like, you know, I mean, I know it was virtual, but it was still kind of like an exciting thing. And,
Mhm.
you know, so I've been a little bit preoccupied, but
Mhm.
hopefully soon.
Awesome.
Hmm.
And I want to let you guys know a couple things. Number one, we have a prayer group going on. If anybody needs any prayers for anything, reach out to me on Instagram and send me a message. And if you want to be a part of that prayer group, you can come and pray with us when we have our prayer meetings. They're not live, they're always backstage. We would love to have you, so send me a message either way. And There was something else I was going to promote and I forgot what it was, but that's okay. Thank you so much for joining us for book club. I will see you Wednesday, 5 o'clock. I was thinking about going earlier at 5 o'clock on Wednesday at 4 o'clock and doing an on location stream, but I forgot I can't because I have an appointment at 3:30. So, regular time this week, 5 o'clock. I'm not sure what we'll do, but we'll make it fun and it'll be great. And thank you so much for watching. Tonight, Jason and I will be on. If you don't know who Jason is, my husband, also known as Flipper. Jeff, welcome in. Good to see you. This is our dream. We'll be on with the. I always want to say the Knights of the Round Table, but it's just called the Round Table. But we'll call them Knights. So we'll be on with on the Viapre Projects channel with VP, and thank you, Jonathan, by the way, for putting those links in. With VP and Gonzo and usually Ed Viapre because it's on his channel. But you guys all know what's been going on with Ed, so prayers for him. Tim.
And just one thing I forgot, I didn't get to say hi to a lot of people when they came in. I wasn't trying to ignore. I just didn't want to interrupt because I interrupt enough as it is. But anyway, hi to everybody that said hi to me, and I appreciate it. And I'm glad y'all made it in. And since you mentioned Ed, I haven't heard the latest. Is there any news in the last few days or so that you
Just
can
that
share?
he's doing a lot better, and
Okay.
but still needs continued prayers because he's not 100% where he should
Okay.
be.
And he's at home, right? He's not
He's
in
home.
the hospital. Yeah. Okay.
Right, he's home.
Good.
So, yep. Everyone keep praying and yeah, so have a great day. Thank you so much for sharing your Monday with us. Know that you are loved. Everyone go over to Kenzie Days at 4:30 before I forget. I'm sending you all over to Kenzie Days. If someone wants to drop the link for Kenzie's channel as well. She's live from Magic Kingdom. You don't want to miss it. Thank you. Know that you are loved and appreciated and that you're a blessing to me. And think of a wonderful thought. Any merry little thought. Bye, guys.